an endless, really boring church service where the preacher doesn't know when to end, and there's too many verses in this song.
People
and
are falling out the windows, all sorts of things, like Eutychuses everywhere. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bible Geeks podcast. I'm Brian Sheely.
I'm Ryan Joy.
And thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. What do you think when you imagine your hope? For some of us, it can feel fuzzy or even boring. Others look forward to dying and going to heaven, but have never actually envisioned our final goal.
The Bible story doesn't end with souls in heaven. It ends with resurrection, renewal, reunion, and the return of the King. Today, we're taking a few minutes to lift our eyes and dream together of the place we'll spend eternity. A couple weeks ago, my daughter Evie couldn't sleep, and she was asking Adrian what should she be thinking about, and she revealed that she was trying to think about heaven to comfort her, and it ended up just bothering her more because she couldn't think of what it would be like, and she also wasn't sure if she'd even like it. Like, it might be boring, or it might be, like something that is so different. It's so foreign. Like, we call it home, but this is the only home we've ever known so far. So even though we know it's gonna feel right when we get there, it's so blurry sometimes. And Adrian used this illustration of, whenever Evie was in her womb, she could hear us talking outside. She could experience the comfort and, in some ways, the love, the food even. But even though all of those are realities of the world just outside of her vision, she couldn't even, if she could have it explained to her, she couldn't properly understand everything, like a sunset, or sitting around a table with a family enjoying the connection and the meal and all of that. And I mean, so many wonderful things here. And in some ways, isn't that how it is, looking to the world to come? So that's where this kind of all started.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm excited for this conversation because it seems like something that we treat as sort of a vague idea, but maybe let's nail down some things that we know about this new home of ours. But as we kind of think about like some of these vague things that we may not really have a great sense of, like, being in the womb and not experiencing actual life until later, what do you think of, like, from your own experience, that you looked forward to, but once you actually had it in your grasp, that was like way better than you expected?
I mean, there's two levels. You could talk about something small or something big. I don't know what's the best. I'll go with the big thing, which is marriage. Like, I was single for a long time. I looked forward to being married. I was looking for that person. I was praying about it with knowing that most likely the Lord would someday make that happen. But it is way better. It's way harder than you could imagine, but it's also just way, way better. And the blessing of companionship and connection, and having someone to just be your person, to be home for you, to sort of be alone together sometimes, or to have someone to go through good things and bad things, and have all of this sort of shorthand language that you can experience together. So I'll go with marriage instead of talking about some vacation or something I went with. But please feel free to bring it back down to something smaller. What about you?
Yeah, mine is small. Mine is a vacation. Mine was a work trip that turned kind of into a vacation. I was commissioned to go to Hawaii for a while, and it was like, yeah, you're going to Oahu, you're going to support this division out there. I was like, okay, well, fine. And then it just wound up, there was so much downtime that I was able to like sightsee and kind of take the afternoons off and like go, eat shrimp on the beach, and it was just amazing. And so it was like
awesome.
Something I kind of looked forward to. And then once it all happened, it was like, no, this is a proper vacation. Enjoy yourself. The only bad part was that my family wasn't with me, but that also provided a new level of removed stress for me. It was like, you don't have to confer with anyone. This is about you. It's like, cool, I'll take that.
I mean, thinking you're going on a work trip and then discovering just you have loads of time to enjoy the beauty of Hawaii. That does sound like it's a blessing that surprises you. And you know, you think about all of these things we're talking about, like marriage and this beautiful garden with rainbows and waterfalls and you know, beaches and beauty and sunsets, and in a way that's all language that the Bible uses to talk about our hope.
It sounds like you're
interesting?
Transitioning us into a conversation about pictures of heaven in the Bible. So let's move on to our conversation here about pictures of this great home that we have to look forward to. What of the Bible's list, I suppose, of pictures that we get of our new home, what is it the one that like really just comforts you the most when you think about dying and going to be with the Lord?
You brought up something when we were talking recently about the idea that paradise, this word that Jesus uses when he's talking to the criminal on the cross, that today you'll be with me in paradise, that's the word used in the Septuagint, in the Greek translation of the Old Testament, for the Garden of Eden.
Yes.
And what a thing to hear about that. You know, I'm just looking at this word comforts. And I just started going down that lane because now I'm thinking about Hawaii, but I want to give a different answer. So I'm going to change gears mid-answer here. And while the beauty of paradise sounds amazing, I think the thing that makes me most nervous or uncomfortable, that I would need comforting from, is the idea of just stepping over.
Oh,
you know, of going from here.
Yeah.
Dying and stepping into a world that I don't know,
Yep.
you know? And so I think the most comforting picture is whenever Jesus, in his story of the rich man and Lazarus, talks about how the poor man died and the angels carried him to Abraham's bosom.
Oh, that's cool.
And that would be a weird detail for Jesus to just, like a fictional, fanciful thing for him to make up.
Yeah.
When he's the one that actually knows what happens when we die. And so that is very comforting to me, the idea that here the Father knows that we might need some care, you know, in that. And there's these ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation, angels, as Hebrews 1 describes them, who he's gonna send to just take our hand and guide us gently across that river. And that's helpful when I think about people who I love, who have gone on, as well as when I think about myself going to be with the Lord.
I think when you're talking about that changed my answer immediately, because you were thinking like, well, I don't know what's on the other side of this door that I'm stepping through. And that view, or the language Jesus uses there in the parable about the angels carrying him across, I also think about like the fact that we are getting a window into heaven now, which when we begin to see the intersection of, you know, the Lord's kingdom here on earth as we serve him and worship him, and, you know, the qualities and characteristics we see within people who are following him sincerely, his saints. And I feel like that is like a picture of what we will see on the other side of that. And that's what Revelation begins to elaborate on in some more language also. But just that worship, the praise, the joy and happiness that are on the other side. And I think for me, maybe that is what if we could get a glimpse of heaven? Well, we kind of have a glimpse of heaven in a very imperfect way, but in its form that it's able to live up to the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ. The church, his body, is a precursor, I think, of what we should expect someday. So I think that brings me a lot of comfort, that it's like, I know what to expect when I get there, because I'm already in some sense participating in some of that now.
It's like all of the best things here
Right.
are echoes of eternity,
Sure.
and they're just ringing backwards, you know, from that place, that there is something we were created for. It's kind of a strange idea that we were not, the things we experience here, our life is not what our life is about.
Right.
Like our eternal life is going to fulfill all of our longings in a really particular, rich way. That all of these things, I love that, thinking of the connection to people. But if we look beyond that, beyond this idea of just like, where are the ones we loved right now? Where will we go if we die before the Lord comes? Well, what about after he comes? What picture of that new heavens and new earth, our resurrection, our eternal reality after Jesus returns resonates most with you? And there's kind of a lot more about this maybe than there is that intermediate state, but it's beautiful pictures.
I think it's a lot of, amazing blessings, and we'll talk about some of them, things that are not going to be there in just a second. But I go to Philippians 1:23 thinking about this, where Paul says, I'm hard pressed between the two, like the idea of dying and staying with the church there to be with them. He says, my desire is to depart and be with Christ, for that is far better. Then he goes on to talk about remaining there with him is necessary for them on their account. And like just that idea that no matter what carrot, I suppose, is being dangled out in front of us as like, here's what's on the horizon, here's what's coming in the future. I just think this idea that being with Christ should be and is, for me, the linchpin that makes it all work, because it's not just like a really nice, a house that's prepared for me, or like a really great garden scene, or any of these things that like are there and that are talked about. But wherever that is, as long as I'm with Christ, that's going to be the best part. And so I'm constantly trying to remind myself of that fact. And I think that's a game changer. What about you?
Well, yeah, absolutely. That is the best part. That, as you're saying, of Philippians 1, that's the best part of dying and going to heaven. That's also the best part of the resurrection, as whenever Paul describes in 1 Thessalonians 4, the Lord returning, he says, and after the dead in Christ rise first, and then we who are alive, he says, and so we will always be with the Lord.
Yeah.
And whenever, we're reading about the new heavens and new earth in Revelation 21 and 22, the great declaration is the dwelling of God is with man. It's with us. And so that reunion, we talked about marriage, that bridal picture, of like, like home is a person, right? And he is our real home. It's not just a place. In fact, it's really weird in Revelation 21 and 22. And I've been thinking about this. I didn't preach on this part, but the new heavens and new earth come down, the city, the new Jerusalem comes down, and it is this place, and it's with all of this language, but it's also like, it's the bride that's coming down. And so it's like the people in the place are melded and merged in this really profound way, because the Lord is infusing every place and infusing us as his people. And so there is this connection between the two that I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but it kind of breaks the brain another of many ways that thinking about our hope does that.
Again, we talk about the church being like a foreshadowing or a precursor of that, and that's the same way we talk about the church. When we talk about our churches, we talk about, sometimes we refer to them as a place, like that is where we go to church, we go to the assembly, but like we all know that the church is the people. And so, it's the same thing, I think, when we get to that, vision of the city coming down and the people there and the leadership and the quality of the people and the character of the, all of that's, weaving together. But you open the door to Revelation 21 and 22. So let's kick the door wide open here. In a little game that we're going to play, we're going to talk about some of the things that will not be there in this new heavens and new earth that we're talking about on this episode. So the first one here that we called out is in Revelation 21, verse 1, where there will no longer be any sea there. And I don't really get a lot of comfort from that, but, what is, like, I'm not afraid of the water, so that's not really my problem. But, like, why is that supposed to be there as, like, a comfort, do you think?
Yeah, I think that if you follow the theme of the sea throughout the whole Bible, I mean, it's there in Genesis 1,
Yeah.
all these chaotic waters, it's there in the flood and the crossing of the Red Sea, and all of this idea of what does the sea represent in the Bible and in kind of the thinking of a Near Eastern ancient person. Well, it is chaotic.
Yeah.
It is dangerous. It
unknown.
is, it's disorder. It's unknown. It's mysterious. It also separates peoples,
right.
And all of that is gone. And, just to talk about this idea of why does Revelation give this picture, not just of the sea, but all these no's? It's giving these, I think of it like whenever you take old cameras, whenever you take a picture, you have a negative, and that negative reveals the positive. You can paint a picture or print a picture from that negative. And so I think sometimes the easiest way to describe something when you're trying to comfort someone and show them how things are going to be better is to say what it's not like. Here's how it's going to be different. So, okay, the next one is no temple. Like, what in the world? I thought we were done with that whole storyline with the temple in the Old Testament. So why is he now saying there is no temple? And I thought we were the temple also. Yeah. So, how does this work?
Yeah, well, he talks about God and the Lamb being the temple. And so just the idea that there is this building that separates you from the presence of God, that physical structure, that building is gone. We think about like the most holy place and the veil that was there and all of the access that was limited to get into God's presence. And now, in fact, it's just God and the Lamb being the temple themselves. Like they are the dwelling place that we are with. And so that's, again, like you say, the flip side of not having a temple is actually just having the open access to God. And then the next one that we were going to talk about here is no death. This is obvious. So tell me all about why this is there.
I mean, obviously, yeah, there's Jesus is the resurrection and life. We have not only souls and spirits that are alive, but there we will then have these resurrection bodies that are like his glorious, eternal, immortal body that he received when he rose from the dead. And so there's this health and vitality and longevity as permanent certainties that there is just something always lurking in the shadows here that will be forever gone. And not only our own experience of death, but the separation that comes whenever we experience the death of a loved one. So, I mean, I think, like you said, that one is kind of obvious. But what about this idea of no night in chapter 21, verse 25?
I'm good with
What's
no
that
night.
about?
I am not a night person. I do not like to stay up at night. I think for the same reasons why you were talking about the sea being a place of chaos and uncertainty and, just that idea of darkness. It's not really a place where you want to camp out like in the darkness. You always gravitate towards light in some way. And so the fact that there is no need for the sun because he is just illuminating everything. And what an amazing picture that there's not going to be any night any longer. And I think that's such a blessing to be able to imagine a time where you don't have to waste. I mean, imagine how much of your day you waste by sleeping. Like you can just constantly 24/7, if that's even a thing anymore, 24/7. You can constantly.
There's not a night or a day.
Exactly. So you can constantly be serving and worshiping God in all the ways that you're dreaming about now. So no night is great. And then the last one, of course, no pain and no sorrow, kind of goes back to the idea of no death. So similar answer to no death?
No, I think it's something different. I think this reveals the positive, or the positive picture to the negative is that there's going to be happiness. It's going to be celebration. It's going to be togetherness. It's going to be comfort. It's going to be, what's the opposite of pain? I guess pleasure.
Yeah.
That
feels weird to say.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be very pleasurable. It's going to be fun and enjoyable. There'll be, by all accounts, over and over again in the Bible, tasty food, a great feast, great sense of camaraderie in the meal and laughter. And, it's going to be a joy. It is not going to be like, I think some of us have somehow gotten the picture painted in sermons we heard somewhere, like an endless, really boring church service where the preacher doesn't know when to end, and there's too many verses in this song.
People are falling out the windows, all sorts of things, like Eutychuses everywhere.
We'll be singing like in the best way, like singing your favorite song, and like we'll be talking about God and the good things constantly in the best way, not in the ways that are lifeless. So yeah, I think no pain or sorrow is just the opposite side of that, is all the joy and connections and togetherness we'll have.
So let's wrap this thing up as we turn to the positive now. Just real quickly, what do you think of, on the topic of Jesus, on the topic of the Lord God, like what is it that you find so inspiring when you think about the idea of being in heaven, in the presence of the Lord for eternity? Like what passage jumps out? What kind of picture do you want to latch on to?
There's one I love from Revelation 2 that is a little bit weird and mysterious. Those who overcome are given a white stone with a name on it that no one knows except you and the Lord. And the name can't be the Lord's name because everybody knows that name. And the name can't be Ryan because everybody knows that name. So I think the idea of it is it's like a secret between me and God, in that my Lord knows me in this profound and deep way. He gets me, he sees me, he loves me, and I know him, he knows me. It's the 1 Corinthians 8:3, to love and be loved is to be known, and fully known and to fully know. And so I'm going to go with that. I think there's so many that you could say. But what about you? When you think about all the ways the Bible talks about how great it is to be with the Lord and to be close to him in that place.
I was digging into 1 John 3, verse 2 says, Beloved, we are God's children now, and what we will be has not yet appeared, but we know that when he appears, we shall be like him, because we shall see him as he is. And I think that's just such a cool picture of seeing God as he is, or the Lord Jesus as he is, because we'll be like him. And our bodies will be like his heavenly resurrected body, like all of these amazing things that I could just daydream about now. But, the fact that someday I will get to see him and see his face, Revelation 22, verse 4, I'll see him as he is, because that's how I will be. And what a cool way just to think about the Lord and think about what I'll be someday, and what we'll all be someday. Holding those little white stones with some kind of name on it. Who knows?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I love what you said there. I mean, I think that's a good challenge for everybody, for all of us, to take time to daydream about our forever home with the Lord, and daydream alone, daydream together. We have more clarity than we might think whenever we look at these passages, even though we understand we're looking through the veil, we're looking through a glass dimly, to misapply that passage, but we don't see it very well. But there's some things we can grab a hold of, and it's worth thinking about, so we're excited for that day.
Yeah, and I think that's really the idea of this whole little mini episode, is just to lean into the fact that the Bible does give us a lot clearer of a picture of what we have to look forward to than it leaves us with this vague sense of like, oh, I have no idea what's going to happen. And so hopefully as you're studying and digging into the Bible, as you run across these moments that just should stand out to you, that these are things to hold on to, and just get specific about it. Daydream about these these real moments that are going to happen someday. This has been a cool little mini episode. So thanks everyone for tuning into the Bible Geeks podcast. You can find us on our website at BibleGeeks.fm. You can find a lot more episodes there. We've got one more episode left in our season, and we're excited about that one. Until next episode, then, may the Lord bless you and keep you.
Shalom.